I actually would love to be a fly on the wall at Blizzard right now. Because think of how many people are playing PoE at the moment. Actually, can we look it up? Hold on. I don't know if necessarily I'm in a safe zone, but am I a safe enough zone to look this up without dying? Let's look up Steam charts. Path of Exile 2. Steam DB. Alright, so right now, in-game, for Path of Exile 2, there is 340,000 players, right now, are active in PoE 2. 24-hour peak was 459,263. For context, Path of Exile 1, so Steam charts for Path of Exile 1, the all-time peak of Path of Exile, its whole lifetime for players, was 228,398. So the 24-hour peak of just the early access launch, not even the free-to-play, because free-to-play is in 6 months, everyone who's playing right now paid a minimum of $30. So 459,263 players. And according to Path of Exile devs themselves, over over 1 million people have bought the early access. So only half of those people have jumped in the game at one time. So actually, let's do some math. Because keep in mind, a lot of people like me bought more than the early access. Because I got gifted some gift cards on Steam by my buddy Tang, so I ended up using some of that to get more advanced packs of the early access. So I paid more. So, but let's just assume out of that 1 million people who have ordered the early access packs for Path of Exile. If we do the 1 million, let's assume we're going to do the max, and then we're going to do the conservative estimates by the numbers here. And this is, again, Path of Exile 1 numbers. Day 1 of the early access, not even the free-to-play, already dwarfing those numbers almost by double. But let's go by the full... Alright, let's go by the full 1 million multiplied by minimum of $30. I can't math today. Well, I guess I could have done that without the calculator. So 30 million. They've made 30 million already. And that's not factoring in the fact that quite a few, I say quite a few, at least a decent percentage, I'd like to argue, probably bought more than just a flat $30 early access. I'd like to think quite a few people, and just in my anecdotal experience here in this server, having run into a couple players at the hubs, I've seen quite a few with the more advanced skins. So, a good percentage probably bought at the very least, that $60 pack. I think it was $60, or the $100 pack. So they made well over $30 million. Steam's cut is 30%. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Let's do the math of the Steam's cut. So 30 million. I just want to keep this here so I can have that number. So 30 million multiplied by 0.3 for the 30%. Alright. So that's 9 million. So subtract that from the overall 30 million, which is 21, but still. Let's just do it for the sake of doing it. And so it's 21 million. So still, raw profit outside of Steam's cut, 30% cut, they've made $21 million. Like, Gyne Gear Games haven't even launched the game yet. This is early access. By the way, this is... And it's not like this is undeserved. This is earned. Like, this early access has been it's smoother than a lot of official launches from AAA devs in the last 8 years. Like, so far, this has actually been even smoother than Space Marine 2's launch. Because Space Marine 2 had some issues with its launch. Some issues. Granted, most of them extremely minor. No crashes, no DCs, nothing incredible or anything like that. But this has been even smoother than that. Like, the worst I've had is a couple of frame rate issues. And granted, before that, we did have the server capacity issue where, like, they had to shut down the servers, like, twice. Because, you know, like they were having some errors. But they fixed them immediately, and they haven't reoccurred. So, it took them 3 hours to make sure it was completely clean. But boom, now everyone can play right now. And it's really smooth. And the game feels smooth. The gameplay feels great. There's no issues with textures or anything. Again, it feels like a finished product. So far, and I'm 6-7 hours in, give or take. Actually, I'm probably closer to 5 hours. I don't know. I'm somewhere in that range. So, anyway, outside of Steam's profit margin of the $9 million, the raw profit that Grinding Gear Games has gotten, if we assume the minimum of 21 mil. Now, to be fair, Grinding Gear Games said 1 million people bought the game. But if we only go by the numbers that are actually in-game, it's just about half that. A little bit less than half. Not that I doubt them. I believe 1 million people bought the Early Access Pack. Just not everyone could get in at one time. This is probably representative of what the server can take at capacity. But even if we do the minimum numbers now, where we just go by the players that actually got in day one. So let's go the max that played, which is 49,263. Multiply that by the minimum purchase of early access of 30. Again, I've seen plenty of evidence that there's lots of people running around with more than the bare minimum. But let's just do the minimum of $30 each. That's $13,777,890. Now, of course, Steam's cut. 13,777,890 multiplied by 0.3 for the 30%. Subtract that from the overall calculation. Alright, so even if we just go by the players that actually could get in day one due to like some earlier issues, which again, I totally believe the Path of Exile devs when they said 1 million people ordered the early access. But even if we just go by the numbers that are representative of actually who've jumped into play, they've still made a profit, raw profit of $9,644,523. That's pretty good. Now, granted, you know, some people would argue, oh, well, this game here made much more money. But you got to keep in mind, this is like, what, a AA studio? This isn't even a AAA studio. So, they're making bank. And keep in mind, later, when the game does officially launch, and we're not even factoring in more people after they hear, like, positive reviews, like, from people like myself over the next, like, coming months and stuff, who are going to buy early access themselves. So that number of 1 million orders is probably going to increase. But even if we don't factor that in, keep in mind, even when the game launches and it becomes free to play, at that point, they're still going to have cosmetic items that are going to sell. Like, as someone who played PoE 1, people will buy those cosmetics. And they will spend $30, $40, $60 at a time to buy those cosmetics. So, they're going to still have a decent profit margin throughout the life cycle of PoE 2. But even before they've reached that point, we go by the minimum number, they've made 9 million, just by the minimum number that's representative in-game. And we go by the maximum number, which I do trust the devs told the truth on, they've made 21 million. Day one. So, that's pretty fucking good. And for once, I actually am happy that a developer is getting that kind of support. Normally, I hate it, because the devs, I oftentimes don't feel like the devs don't deserve it, because they're assholes. But this is a developer that's trying to make an actually genuinely fun game, with a good story, with a solid setting, and they're not shoving anything down your throat in terms of real-world beliefs or ideology or anything. No, they're being genuine with the setting that they've developed and giving you a fun experience in a dark fantasy / grimdark setting. Fucking love it. Good question, Gunner. Is the cosmetic store open right now? I know that if you bought like advanced packs like I did, you do have access to those cosmetics, but let me look if they actually have anything on sale right now. It doesn't look like it, because they're not even showcasing like what your currencies are. I know they have supporter packs, but that's like outside the game, I think. It doesn't look like it. It looks like they probably sacrificed the shop in order to... Oh, wait, hold on. I might be speaking too soon. Okay, there are items in the game you could buy. Suspicious pet rock. Alright, I'm assuming these are decorative items. Yeah, so some cosmetics are actually available right now. Yep. It looks like part of the shop is disabled. My guess is that's part... So they kind of did the opposite of what Darktide did, if I'm not misunderstanding like what this is implying by like the endless loading screen and not being able to show. Because the sales and the raw shop are available. Guild, yeah, the grid guild points, that's also loading. So it looks like they sacrificed some of the microtransaction microtransaction shop in terms of its functionality. And they prioritized making sure the rest of the game was as smooth as possible. Support pack only available on PoE 1, I think. The support pack that I got for there are support packs for the early access launch that you can access. That's what these are. Yeah, and all these other items you see here, they're from my PoE 1 purchases in the past. Motherfuckers, they really did microtransactions wish lists. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. When the rest of the game is so fun, yeah, that's awesome. So it looks like they did the reverse of Darktide, where they hyper-focused on making sure the game was as functional as possible on early access, and said, okay, but the microtransaction shop, we can hold off on that. That can wait till later. Whereas Darktide was like, fuck the rest of the game on launch. The microtransaction shop must be functional day one.